Today's episode is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/figureoutyourlife. With over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, and Kindle. Now let's get to the show. All right, welcome back to Figure Out Your Life podcast, where we try to find the answers to life's problems. I'm your host, Toya T, your best friend that you wish that you always had, who's always here for you, who will go find the answers for you, goes through it so you don't have to. Oh gosh, okay, so enough of that. Hey guys. Welcome back. I'm happy to be here another week. It has been an interesting week for me. This past weekend, I was able to attend the historic Howard versus Harvard football game that happened at Harvard. And it was a great event, great Black event. I mean, gosh, so many smart, intelligent, beautiful Black people all in one place. I bought tickets to the tailgate that was sponsored by the Harvard Black Graduate Students Alliance and also Howard alumni. I think it's the Harvard University alumni, but they had a tailgate before the game on Saturday, and it was everything that I didn't know that I needed. I wish I had gotten there earlier because I thought it was going to be a regular tailgate, but this is another lesson why you should always read your emails. Always read things that people send to you. So if I had read the email confirmation for my ticket, I would have seen that it said that drinks and food were included. I saw that like maybe Friday night, and I was like, oh, okay, there'll be food and some drinks. But I didn't know that they meant like drinks, like all you can drink drinks. Like they had rum punch, they had IPA beer, they had hard cider, and they also had like full-on food like fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, potato salad, like everything like that you would ever want at a Black home, like a Black tailgate. And so I actually got there a little late, but I did get there in time to see that the Howard University marching band was performing with their dancers and the majorettes. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I wish they had said that because I would have come early to see the full glory of it. Luckily, I was able to get there in time to see the tail end of it. It was just amazing. And it was just so funny watching, the white Harvard alumni that were tailgating in the parking lot right next to where the this Black homecoming, that's what they were calling it, Black Ivy Homecoming 2019, this tailgate, that they were just like watching and dancing to the marching band music, which I just find absolutely hilarious. And I overheard someone talking about like, they're probably looking over here thinking this is Wakanda. And I was like, yeah, it is Wakanda for them, Wakanda forever. I just never can understand. And I'm building on this theory. I mean, maybe it's not like a newfound theory, but this theory that white people really seem to be disturbed, intrigued, uncomfortable when they see a large gathering of Black people in spaces that they deem to be white spaces. And I don't know, I remember if I told this story, but I probably did when I went for a skip work beach day that happened over the summer, and it was a bunch of young Black professionals in Boston and from the New England area that all went to the beach and in Massachusetts. And I overheard this white couple saying like, oh, they must have had a family reunion. And I'm like, you really think that we are all fucking related, that we couldn't just all have come to the beach because it was a nice day and we wanted to go to the beach? Okay. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of them really did think that was probably a family reunion or Wakanda, but I just found that they seem to be kind of dumbfounded. Like I never have any inclination when I see a bunch of white people all gathered around in spaces that I consider black spaces, which are very few, I don't sit there, I'm like, I wonder what's going on there. I wonder if they're having a family reunion. I never have that kind of forethought, but it's interesting when you're a person, when you come from a minority viewpoint versus a dominant group viewpoint, things are just very, very different when you think about who belongs in spaces and what's going on here and your assumptions about it and your actual desire to understand what's going on. Like, I have no desire. Like, I see a group of white people all in one place and I look and it's like, okay, take in what it is. Is there a party? Is it a balloons? Is it a festival? Is there anybody here wearing a Confederate flag and a Make America Great hat and that possibly might want to harass me or shoot me dead for being a black person? That's all. Or call the cops on me for just breathing. That's all I'm paying attention to. I'm not going to go in there just like, looky-looing, but besides the point, I had a great time. The game was not a game. I'll tell you this right now. And I didn't go there for the football game. Just have absolutely no interest in college football, regular football, before and after Colin Kaepernick, like just no desire. Like, even when I was in high school and had to go to football games as part of the step team, we never watched the game. Like, I barely ever watched the game. And this was no different. And actually, this didn't even give me the reason to. I mean, I think when we left at the halftime show because, and let me be correct, we left after the Howard University marching band and the dancers came out and put on a blackety black ass freaking halftime show for the Harvard Stadium crowd, which was just amazing. It was everything that I could ever wanted. That's what I was waiting for. And me and my two companions left right after they finished. As soon as Harvard's marching band, if you want to call it that, because they came out with flutes and saxophones, that looks like jazz band to me, not a marching band. When they came out with their sheet music on their instruments, I was like, it's time to fucking go. We went to lunch after that, but the game wasn't really a game. I mean, when we left, it was like 40 Harvard, 3 Howard, and I was like, this is not a game. This is not even interesting. Like, it's not even worth really watching, except to see the halftime show and to see Howard bless the Harvard University Stadium with their black excellence. And so I'm just so happy I was able to experience that. But that is all besides the point. So I just want to let you guys know what I did this weekend. And it really just made me think about, like, when I see things like this, it sometimes make me feel like, oh, I wish I had gone to an HBCU and had the HBCU experience. But then I also remember that, things happen for a reason. You go where you want to go. And I definitely wanted to go to Columbia since I was 10 years old, and I was going to Columbia. If Columbia happened to be a HBCU, I would have gone to Columbia. But at that time, and I probably will talk about it later, I just had no interest in being at a school with a whole bunch of black people. And that was my hang up concerning race and the fact that I had gone pretty much to predominantly white schools all my life. And not that I, thought that was a better education, but I had already gotten so used to it that it was just like, I didn't see the value in being in an educational institution that was, predominantly black, but I see the value now. I mean, I also see the huge value in diversity and having people, especially white students, be in diverse educational institutions and environments. But there is also just like a great value to HBCUs and being around a whole bunch of, motivated, smart, intelligent, professional, young and old black students, faculty, staff, just shining. But okay, let's continue with the show. So that's all I have to really say about what was going on this weekend. This week's topic is a little bit different. It's a little bit personal, not like all the topics aren't super personal and that you don't know all my fucking business already. But this is not something that I feel uncomfortable talking about, mainly for the fact that, like, if you're one of my friends, you know that I have no problem talking about sex. I love talking about sex. I'll tell you all kinds of freaky, nasty, funny stories about people that I've had encounters with, sexual encounters with. And I will even share with you some dick pics that have been sent to me if I find it funny. And trust me, there's been plenty that I have found funny and amusing that I have shared with my friends. Like, look at this nonsense that this Negro sent me. Just saying. But this week's episode, as you could already tell, is about celibacy and abstinence, but really about celibacy. Just keep it short. So this week's topic is figuring out celibacy. And I wanted to, start off by, of course, doing, the little bit of research, which just in this case is just looking at some articles and also giving you definitions so you understand what it is. Because even for me, as I'm talking about this, and as I've talked about this with friends, there seems to be like a misunderstanding or lack of understanding or just lack of knowledge about what actually celibacy is. How is it different from abstinence and chastity? And so I'm going to start off by giving you this definition and tell you why that I am talking about this. So definition, and this is definition that I got from, a dictionary definition. So celibacy in itself is a noun. It is the state of abstaining from marriage and sexual relations. Abstinence is the practice of restraining oneself from indulging in something typically, can I talk today? Typically alcohol. And chastity is the state or practice of refraining from extramarital or especially from all sexual intercourse. So if you get that straight, celibacy involves, the act of abstinence, and chastity in itself is just refraining completely from premarital sex and sex outside of your marriage and just all sexual intercourse, period, if you are not married and it's not with someone who you are married to. So we ain't talking about chastity because I think you guys already know that I've had sex before. So this is not about chastity. This is pretty much about celibacy. And for this podcast, I'm going to describe it as a state of being voluntarily sexually abstinent. So voluntarily deciding to restrain yourself from indulging in sexual activity with another person or at all, like in total, in general. And so where does this come from? So the reason why I want to talk about this month is because this month marks 2 years since I have last had sex. Yes, I haven't had sex in 2 years. I can tell you who the last person was, where it was, whether or not it was satisfying. And then it dawns on me that was 2 years ago. And honestly, I haven't had sex in 2 years, not because of religious reasons. That is very far from anything that would ever push me to do something. And not because I took some kind of solemn vow to not have sex until I meet my husband or until I get married or something, like that. It's just, I just haven't. And mainly because the last person I was having sex with, I was dating, and, things ended, and it was in the middle of the school year, and I just pretty much, when it's during the school year, it's easy for me to just focus on other things. And so it was like, well, there goes my one source. We're not talking anymore. So I'm just going to focus on finishing off the semester, Thanksgiving, Christmas, travel. And then before you know it, it just, the months kind of go by for me. And this is not the first time that I've been celibate or have abstained from sex for, a long period of time. I mean, since I started having sex, which was at the age of 14, which was very young, and I would never suggest anyone start having sex that early because you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and we all know what happened with me doing that. After I had gotten pregnant and I had the abortion, and which I talk about in the episode about figuring out abortions, I didn't have sex for a whole year. So the age of 15, I did not have sex at all. It just, I just needed a clean break. I needed a space and to think. But I did start up again after I started dating somebody else. And so all in through college, and college was, what it was supposed to be, which is exploration and hooking up with tons of people, of course, safely. And some not so safely, but luckily I did not catch anything or get pregnant. And again, I would not suggest that you be having unprotected sex in college, no matter how much you think you trust and know that person, like, because you have to be prepared to deal with the consequences. And it's funny that the person that I was involved with all 4 years of when I was in college, and he didn't like to use condoms, which is, his thing. The first time we had sex, we did use a condom. But after that, it was like, no condoms. The funny thing is that he actually got somebody else pregnant while we were in college. And everyone knew about it. And she had an abortion. But the problem was that, she had a not so great reputation, and people, behind her back or maybe to her face, but I highly doubt no one ever calls someone a slut to their face unless, I just haven't seen it, but I guess some people have, like in real life, and not like with, celebrities or, B-list celebrities or reality stars, or if it's not some kind of like, you are Jezebel, or somebody who slept with your man or your woman or whatever, but I'm rambling. People didn't really believe it. And I was like, I believe it because I know that he doesn't like to use condoms. And I'm pretty sure that that could have been me. And I don't know what her birth control situation was, but I have been taking birth control since I was 14. And so that is one thing that I did have on my side, keeping me from reproducing when I did not want to and when I was not ready to. And so with all that said, there has been times when I've had what I call quote unquote droughts. And those were, of course, not, voluntary. Those were just like, I'm not seeing anybody, or, I'm not really interested in anybody, but if something pops up or if someone, piques my fancy and I feel like, having a sexual romp with them, I had no problem, doing that if I felt like that person seemed semi-attractive. And it didn't mean I didn't have to be drunk or anything to do that. It'd be pure and sober. But usually most of those encounters were very dissatisfying, like extremely dissatisfying. But I am used to, like, I had gotten to a point where I'd just been used to going without voluntarily. Even in these quote unquote droughts, again, choosing to hook up with somebody to end it is a decision that I made. And it was, choosing someone, which I think some people kind of, I don't know, get misconstrued when they start thinking about abstaining or people who have casual sexual relations, which gets really close to people thinking that people are promiscuous, which, if you know the definition of promiscuity or being promiscuous, it is demonstrating or implying an undiscriminating or unselective approach, indiscriminate or casual. And I can tell you one thing, I have never been promiscuous. I can say that on my life, on my hood. I look fly, I look good, just my swag. Okay, let me stop. I can definitely tell you that because I've always been discriminate. I've always been discriminate about who and what, and okay, maybe not always. There has been people that I have regretted, but it's like, I still made that decision. Like, I could have said no, even though sometimes it can be very, it can be a very complicated situation when you're a young woman, and you put yourself in a situation, not put yourself, but you're in a situation and you don't quite know if saying no, what that will do for you, or if you are someone who's dealing with pick me mentality, like I was for a very long time. You do things so that you get picked, and sometimes you regret those things that you did to get picked afterwards. But I can definitely tell you that I have not just let any old body just get up in my box unless I wanted them to do so. And in some of those encounters, yes, I regretted, some people, but like still discriminating, still saying like you and not you, which makes it different, makes a difference when you're talking about if someone is being promiscuous. But just wanting to point that out. But okay, so continuing on the why, so going on to the 2 years. So I'm saying like I broke up with somebody, I kept myself really busy, and when I turned around, it was 6 months had passed, which again, like I said, for someone who has been having sex for a very long time, and had been used to droughts, voluntary and involuntary, but mostly voluntary droughts. I'm gonna just say it's voluntary. If you have a drought, like as a female, like I've always noticed that if you really want to break a drought, you can literally fuck anybody. Like anybody. Like literally anybody. Now, do you want to? No. But pretty much I am under the assumption that most men will put their dicks in anything that is a vagina. As long as even if it's diseased, they'll still do it. Even if they think that the person attached to the vagina is super ugly or whatever, they'll do it anyway. So it's the same thing. Like if I really wanted to, I could. And I find that interesting because that's the kind of conversation I had when I was telling some of my friends that I was going to talk about, being celibate for 2 years. And they're like, well, that's not really celibacy. And I think this one friend was thinking about it in terms of religious terms or in terms of a vow. And I'm like, no. She's like, well, it doesn't count if you're not dating somebody. I'm like, yes, it does, because literally I very much could get it if I wanted to. And I've done it in the past. Like literally, if you remember for the D challenge, and I don't know why some people don't, but I remember it. I remember talking to my students about, for the D challenge. I was making jokes, but they didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But then again, most of the students I was teaching was white. So maybe they just don't know about Black Twitter and Black Instagram. But if you remember for the D challenge, which is for the dick, they had lots of female stars, celebrities, reality stars, whatever, on Instagram, and just regular people rapping about what they would do for the D, what they have done for the D, like how far would you go? And so this is how this is how I'm telling you that my drought is very much voluntary, and I ain't too proud to beg or ask like TLC has said. So this is what I've done for the D. Okay, don't laugh. My flow is gonna be real fucked up because I'm not a rapper. Okay, not my day job. So what have I done for the D? Let's see. Last time I got the D, I drove 2.5 hours to Maine for that D. Okay. In the past, I've driven 6 hours early in the motherfucking morning for the D. Okay. I've flown across country for the D. I stood outside in the cold for the D. Okay. Snuck past your daddy's room for the D. Busted it wide in the back of a car for a D. But you get my point. Like, so if I really wanted to, I could. If I really wanted to break it, and I thought about not breaking, but stopping from abstaining when I went to that wedding, because there was a couple people, and there was at least one person. No, there was at least 2 people at that wedding that I attended sitting at the table with me that I'd had sex with. Only one of them was single. And he was definitely, I was like, I'm like, okay, he could still fucking get it. I might want to go ahead and hop on that. But then by the end of the night, I was like, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Like it really had become like, I'm not pressed, but if the opportunity presented itself and we happened to be staying in the same hotel at the same time, and I happened to be in the mood, and he wasn't like sloppy drunk and I wasn't sloppy drunk, I would have been like, yo, what you doing? Hey, you up? What's up, big head? You would have been one of those kind of texts, and I would have got it done, gone back to my room, slept, and had a great day. But didn't do it, and that's because I chose not to. Again, I told you how I got there, but pretty much it's not like I haven't been dating too. So like I've, gone on a couple of dates here and there, although I haven't done it consistently. And even now I'm not like actively looking, although I should be actively looking. Here I go with the shoulds. I will be actively looking. I want to be actively looking, but it is on a list of many things that I want and need to do, that it just keeps getting pushed to the back burner because there's other things that I find more important, like putting out my podcast on time, or finding a new job, or saving money, or traveling to Cancun and then Tulum like I am this week. though all those things I find as more important than thinking about like finding me a man and dating and then having sex with that person. But the why for me really is just like, just being, just discriminating, just being, protective of my good goods. Like, I know what I offer. I know I'm very good at this sex game thing. And there is quite a few men that you can ask, and I'm not going to tell you my number. I'm not ashamed of it, but I ain't going to tell you because I don't currently know. But there are plenty of men that I can point you to. Two of them I told you was at that wedding I went to in September, who can tell you, who can speak of my great sexual prowess. And so it's not that I'm whack in bed, and it's not at any of that at all. I just, have gotten to a point in my life where it's just, I don't need to just be having just any old body on top of me that I feel like that doesn't deserve it. But that is also a choice. But let me get deeper into this whole idea about celibacy and how I'm separating it from this whole like religious aspect of it or taking a vow aspect of it, and some of the benefits that some people have said has come from being celibate. And so this is from me I looked this up. I just put celibacy in two sources. One, just the regular Google, and two, xonicole.com. And so I found a couple of sources that had it as a title. And so one of the benefits I've seen, and this is something that I found on xonicole, where there's a article that talks about Cam Newton, who earlier this year had revealed that he had been abstaining from several things as a way to maximize his productivity. So I guess first he said he had abstained from gambling for a month. Then he abstained from all like his pescatarian diet, because he's pescatarian, and he became vegan for a whole month. And then after that, he decided to go and abstain from sex for a month, and called it, this idea of intermittent. That's the word, intermittent celibacy. And so he said that he did that for a month, for a full 31 days, and saw it as a way that will clear his mind and get him super, focused on getting to a Super Bowl. Now, that shit did not happen, because we are already in October, and this article was written in, I think, April. And the Panthers did not go to the Super Bowl, and they definitely didn't win it. But he had encouraged his teammates also to engage in this, because he said after he did it, and I think he spoke about this on a late night show. I forgot which one. I'm not going to tell you. Doesn't matter. But he spoke about it openly and said, like, I was very clear. I felt very focused, very clean. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean, that you felt very clean? Are you suggesting that your girlfriend, not your wife, who is the mother of your 3 kids, that having sex with her makes you dirty? I just didn't like the way he said that, but he said he felt like just very focused, and maybe he meant like clear of mind, and like his body was, he was probably working out more to deal with his sexual energy. And so maybe he felt cleaner in his body from that, and from being vegan for a month before this. But he had mentioned it as a way to maximize productivity. And have I found that I have been more productive since I have decided not to have sex for 2 years? Yes and no. I can definitely say that I have, I definitely have more time on my hands. I have definitely accomplished a lot of things since I have stopped having sex, but not, but it has never been the focus, like, oh, I'm doing this so I can gain more clarity, except for the fact that I've been doing this so that I can just, deciding not to break it, or not to, deciding to actually engage in sex it really is about, again, like I said, being choosy and not being promiscuous, like, not just being indiscriminate and just giving it to anybody. But I definitely can feel like I was productive. I mean, in 2018, I made the most money that I'd ever made thus far in my life. I paid off, within these 2 years of being celibate, I've paid off all of my student loans, all my undergraduate student loans. Let's not say all my students. I still have 6 figures of graduate school debt, but I paid off my undergraduate loans. I paid off my car. I paid off all my credit cards. I raised my credit score. I quit a job. Like, I moved away from a toxic work environment. I've traveled more. I've been to new places. I went to Paris for the first time. I went to Cuba for the first time. I just went to Memphis for the first time. Went to Montreal for the first time. I'm about to go to Tulum. And I went to Tulum for the first time earlier this year, and I'm about to go again for a full cultural immersion experience. And so I definitely have done a lot of things, but can I contribute that to being celibate? No. But do I have more time on my hands because I'm not dealing with being in a relationship or having to deal with somebody's fuck shit? But I don't think that those two things go together, but I guess you can say that it has come from from abstaining from one activity that I actually enjoy, but I wouldn't say that it has boosted my productivity. I've also seen in an article that I also found on XO Nicole that Tamara, gosh, so many ways to say these names. Tamara Mori Housley from Sister fame and the Real fame, the talk show, said that she saw being celibate and the fact that she abstained from sex for 29 years. Like she didn't lose her virginity until she was 29. And then after she did, she abstained for sex until she got married to her husband. She said that she felt like it leveled up her sex life as a wife. And I was like, okay. And she said mainly because during this time, it's not like she was not engaging in sexual activity. She said she very much was, masturbating, which I was like, yes, girl, thank you for telling people that even if you're super religious, and that's why she didn't lose her virginity until she was 29, because she had grown up in a very religious household, that she still believed in that, which is very opposite to what I had seen that Erica Campbell from Mary fame, the gospel group, her and her sister are just problematic in general, but Erica is less problematic than her sister, whose name I cannot remember. And she said on the Breakfast Club recently, on a Breakfast Club interview, she was talking about how she felt that for females, I mean, it felt like she was talking about females, but she said in general, if you have a lot of sex before you get married, that you may be dissatisfied with your marriage sex life because you have all these other people to compare them to. And I'm like, okay, but if you had sex with many or just two or one, there's plenty of places for comparison. And even if saving it until you get married and only having sex with one person, yes, it does get rid of the comparisons because you have nothing to compare it to. But it also would diminish your sex life because you don't know exactly how that shit is supposed to feel. I mean, like when you learn how to drive a car, you definitely are driving more than once, and usually you're driving in different cars. I mean, if you're going to buy a car, you usually drive different cars to see which one you like. If you like the way it rides, oh, I like this one. I like the seats in this one. I like how this one has heated seats, or this one, drives smoothly. I like how this one accelerates super fast. Like you wouldn't know that unless you test drove some cars, and it's the same thing. I would say before you get married, you gotta test drive some dicks before you get married, so that you can have the best marital sex life, because you'll know exactly what you want or how you want it, or at least engage in some fucking masturbation, which I don't think she talked about. I didn't watch the whole thing because, again, I find her problematic, but she really made it seem like, if you decrease the number of people that you have sex with before you get married, if you abstain, if you remain celibate, that you will have a better marital sex life. But it's really funny that she said that, seeing that her husband it's well known that her husband has cheated on her more than once, and so it didn't seem to have kept her husband from cheating on her. So I don't know where she was going with that, but people in the church really like to start giving out information about sex, and really particularly about female sexual history and engagement, but then we'll turn a blind eye to other things like, oh yeah, well, infidelity, like I have to be a coat for my husband, and he has to grow into me, and I have to groom him to be a man. But yeah, you talking about, hey girl, keep your legs closed and don't have too many sexual partners before you get married, because you're going to ruin your sex life, because you're going to be comparing other men to your husband. And it's like, yo, if you are comparing other men to your husband, maybe you shouldn't have married him in the first place. Maybe that is a part of your ways of discerning if this is the man that you're meant to be with. But then also I saw that in the article that I found on Huffington Post and HuffPost, that on this article, which was called Celibacy and the Spirituality of Masturbation, which I was like, oh, that's so cool as a title. But then when I started reading it, it's very much steeped in celibacy as a form of voluntarily sexually abstaining for religious reasons, and then talking about how if you're religious and you're celibate for religious reasons, that you should still masturbate because you can find, some kind of, you can find some kind of release from it. Like it's not a sin. You should self-pleasure yourself so you can get rid of some of that sexual energy, and also know what you like before you decide to break your celibacy vows or your bout of celibacy or whatever. And so they said in that one that, that some of the benefits of celibacy is that you're becoming mentally and physically strong, and that you gain the power of discernment, that you experience some personal growth. And I'm like, okay, again, I can see that. I don't know if I can say that I've become mentally or physically stronger. I don't know if I can say I'm physically stronger. Mentally, yes. In terms of the things that I will do for the D now, not doing that anymore. Because it's not worth it. If I'm doing that, what you doing for me? Why am I driving 6 hours for the D? Why am I, flying for the D? Why am I, busting it wide open in a car for the D? Why am I standing outside in the snow, for the D? What are you doing for me? What are you doing for the P? Come on. And so I would say definitely that it has made me a little bit more aware of the kind of behaviors that I had engaged in, particularly my pick me mentality and pick meisms of doing things to be picked by a man, and doing things so that he will continue to like me or like me more or want to be in a relationship with me. I definitely can say that abstaining will get you some clarity on that, and it definitely has made me stronger in terms of discernment. 2 dates, by 2 dates, I know whether or not this is going to work, and definitely you're not getting any kind of physical interaction. I mean, kissing, maybe you'll get a handhold, but I am very just okay. I don't know if I want you to touch me yet, and I will know that after I've spent some time with you and gotten to know you, because I realize from abstaining and from being celibate that all of any kind of intimacy with me is special. It is something that I should treasure and only give out to those who are worthy, even though there are plenty out there who are unworthy that got it, but that doesn't matter. It's about going forward and what I do from here on out, while I'm looking for, my forever or my 20 years or whatever that I'm looking for. Also, when I was going through the research on celibacy and what was said out there, I found an article that was also an XO Nicole that talked about 7 tips that this girl used, the author used, to abstain from sex. And so here are some of her 7 rules that I thought was helpful if you're listening to this because you're looking for help on how to do so. I'll give you these tips and I'll tell you, how I feel about them. So 1, she said, set ground rules. So you should know how long you're doing this, what you're doing this for. Why are you abstaining from sex? Why are you being celibate? How long do you intend to do so? What are you abstaining from? Are you abstaining from all sexual encounters, including masturbation, or are you only abstaining from genital to genital intercourse? Are you going to allow kissing, hugging, a little bit of, above the clothes, touching? Are you gonna, heavy petting? Are you gonna allow that? Or are you completely just not doing any of that stuff? 2, and okay, I said I was gonna also put my 2 cents on there. So 1, do I have any ground rules? No. Yes, I guess I do have ground rules. What am I talking about? I have ground rules. There has been no genital intercourse. I just haven't engaged in that. And there has not been any kissing. You can hold my hand, but you're going to have to ask to hold my hand, and you can't fondle it, because that happened with one dude I was dating who I have told my friends molested my hands, and it made me feel very uncomfortable. Like, he was just like, I don't know what he was doing. He was like just running his fingers around my hand and over my hands and through my fingers. And I was just like, dude, I did not ask you to do so. I was trying to pull my hand away, and I just feel very molested. Like, my hand felt molested. And so I'll let you do that, but I'm not kissing you. I did kiss that dude, and I felt like he was going in for more than I wanted to give him. I was like, ooh, okay. Thanks, bro. Okay, move off. Okay, stop. So I will allow the kissing and the hand touching. But that's about it if we're not going to do it. If I allow you to grope me and fill me up, we are going to have sex. And that is off the table if I feel like we have gotten to that place where I trust you and I feel like you're not dirty and we've had a clean health, like bill of health given from both of us. And that you're not just here to hit it and quit it, unless we had an agreement that it's a hit it and quit it. Again, I'm not above having, a booty call or engaging in cuffing season, but it has to go within the rules of what I've set up. And in those cases, I know that the only people that I would engage in that with are people that I already had sex with. I just don't have the time to be vetting new people. Unless we are seriously dating and this is a part of our relationship. So that is my ground rules on that one. So I do have ground rules, and there's no time limit. There's no feeling bad because I decided to text somebody late at night and then regretted it later, or was making sexual innuendos with somebody in the DMs. No problem. I don't feel bad about that. And also, masturbation is not off the table, and I will get to that in a second. Number 2, have a support system. So they're saying have a strong support system, people who support you in this endeavor of being celibate. And I can say I have that, but I really don't feel like I need a support system. I don't need to call up my friends and be like, hey girl, I was so tempted last night. I was so tempted. Oh my gosh. I don't have that. And I definitely have expressed on my group chats, my female group chats with my girlfriends, my sister friends, hey, I haven't had sex in almost 2 years. And that dude over there might get it. He might, but if he does, I'll let you know. But no biggie. And they're like, oh my gosh. But no one's like, oh my goodness, girl, you need to go out there and just jump on the next dick that comes by you. No one is doing that. And I just feel like in terms of support systems, anybody that I have allowed in my life that is in my circle that I consider my friends are a strong support system on anything that I decide to do. Anything. If you don't support something that I decide to do, we're not going to be friends anymore. I just have no need for you. None. And I'll just stop talking to you and just... that's what happens. But by 36, I have that system in place where I don't need validation from my friends to do things. I know that they will support me through pretty much anything, except for if I decide to kill somebody. But if, I think it depends on who the person is. Number 3, be clear on your boundaries. So the author was saying that you should be clear. So if you start dating, and you should tell someone ahead of time, I'm not engaging in, genital intercourse, or I'm only going to do oral, or I only do a hand job, or you can only do heavy petting, or you can only kiss me. You should do that. I have never gotten to the point since I've been celibate to have to tell somebody that, I'm not doing this, because again, there's no ground rules. I just, keep it clear on what I want to do and what not to do. But I don't feel like I've ever had to say, hey, I'm not going to do this because I will do it. but only if I feel like I want to do it. And we'd have to get to that point first for me to have that conversation with somebody. But if we've gotten to that point, most likely, like, and I'm still dating you, we're gonna have sex, like, no problem. But for now, I don't feel like there needs to be I don't have to make clear boundaries, but they say that's if you are doing this for a certain purpose, then you should definitely make it clear to people that you're romantically involved with or dating or interested in, like, what your boundaries are. Number 4, avoid substances or situations that impair your judgment. Definitely. If you decided that you just don't want to have sex with random people, and you know you do that when you drink or when you get high or when you go to romantic comedies, or just don't do those things. That makes sense. For me, I don't have that kind of like trigger thing. Okay, maybe I do when I have a couple of drinks on me. When the liquor's in the system, ain't no tell them if I fuck them, if I diss them. That's what I be yelling. Okay, let me stop. Yeah, I'm just in the mood for music today. I'm stretching those rap skills. Maybe I could become a 36-year-old new rapper. As long as someone wrote my lyrics for me, yo. Where are Cardi B's freaking ghostwriters at? Yo, I think I'm ready for my rap career. Okay, you can call me DJ Dr. T. You can call me, I could just go by Toya T. That could work too. Or I can go by what I consider would have been my stripper name, Peanut Butter. I can go by that name too. So, yeah, don't engage in that stuff. And usually when I've had a couple of drinks, yes, trust me, at that wedding, I had quite a few drinks. And some people were looking really good. But that wasn't going to push me into doing something I did not want to do unless I was blackout drunk, which I was not. And I tend not to get blackout drunk anymore because I'm grown. And ain't nobody got time for that. So, but I do notice that when I get some edibles that I get really in the mood. But I direct that energy towards other things. So, but I do know that when I'm ready to go, that a good glass of wine and one chocolate edible, and it's going to be the best experience of my life when I decide to, engage in some splash waterfalls with somebody else. Number 5, remind yourself of why you're doing this, why you became celibate, why are you abstaining? I don't have to remind myself. I guess reminding myself that I'm just not interested in just having sex with just any random person and having to deal with the bullshit that sometimes can come after it. Yeah, maybe that is me reminding myself. But if you're doing it for religious or whatever reasons, you should also have a way to remind yourself of why you're doing this. Like, why are you doing this? Like a diet. Like, why am I not eating sugar? Oh, yeah, because I want to fit into that dress. Why am I not having sex? Oh, because I decided to abstain for a month, or I decided to not do anything until I have dated someone for 6 months, or I'm getting married. Like, remind yourself of why you're doing it. Number 6 is the most important. I'm going to tell you this right now. The most important. And I love that she had that on here, but I felt like it should have been higher. Number 6, she says masturbate. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and self-pleasure. It will help you get through it. And I'll tell you that's how I've gotten through 2 years of not having sex with a man. Having sexual intercourse, genital intercourse with a man. Masturbation. And particularly the Purple Thunder team, which is my vibrator team. I'll tell you that. Ladies, gentlemen, I don't know about the gentlemen's tools, but ladies, invest in a very good vibrator or a vibrator team if you don't have a good vibrator. Like, you can get them anywhere now, without being ashamed about it. If you ain't got no shame in your game, go ahead and go to the sex stores and go get yourself a big old vibrating dildo or a rabbit. I would suggest a rabbit. Or if you want to be a little bit more discreet, adamandeve.com. They send your stuff with no information on their boxes. So you'll get the package and no one will know that it's from Adam and Eve. They pride themselves on being discreet, and their stuff is affordable, and they have a wide variety of stuff. Just put that out there. If you want to be expensive, go ahead and get that bedroom candy. Although I would love to support Candy Burrs, but her shit is expensive when you can literally just get it for cheaper at adamandeve.com. Or if you just don't have time to be waiting for no shipping, you can just go to your local Walgreens, CVS, Target and the aisle where they sell condoms, you will find also vibrators. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You will find vibrators. Now, if you have no shame in your game, go ahead and pick it up and go straight to the checkout line. If you're lucky, they might have a self-checkout, but someone's still watching you. Or you can also order from Walgreens and all those places online too. If they have 1-day shipping, even better. If they have, order and pick it up, and hopefully they'll just put it in a bag for you, go ahead and do it. But definitely masturbate. Even freaking Tamara Maury Housley, I just put her two names together, said go help in self-pleasure. And that girl is like, she prides herself on being a super conservative Christian. Not super conservative, but like a conservative and super Christian. And she even said it. I mean, the girl didn't have sex until she was 29. Even she said after that, you gotta self-pleasure yourself. Come on. Figure out what you like, what you don't like. Especially if, like Erica Campbell says, you get into your marriage and you get discouraged and you think that, oh my gosh, this is horrible. My husband is not as good as Jack or John or Tyrone. Go ahead and figure out what you like so that you can tell your man or your woman or whoever you fucking what to do. But in the meantime, if you're deciding to be celibate or just to not engage in sexual activity until you meet somebody that you feel is worthy, like I am, go ahead and masturbate. Trust me, it will save your life. I know that I used to do it all the time before finals and midterms because it used to allow me to clear my mind and to be focused. Like I would get out all this like tension and stress, and then after I do it, I would just go and study, and I would go and ace my fucking exams, just like boom. So go ahead and do that, please. Number 7, she says, find other ways to channel your sexual energy. So travel, write a blog, go for runs, exercise. Just find other things to do. And I told you that's how pretty much like I looked up and 6 months later I hadn't had sex, and then all of a sudden it was a year because I had kept pretty much busy. I was focused on so many other things that bring me joy that I prioritized over it, that I didn't even realize until I looked up and I was watching some TV show, and I was like, oh, that looked real good. I haven't had sex in a long time. Oh wow, it's been like 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. Oh, a year. Wow, that went by really quickly. But if you stay focused on other things, like there are plenty of other things to do with your life besides have sex. Trust me. Or to be focusing on the fact that you're not having sex. Just work on other things, and the things that you want will fall in place. That's how I feel about it. So I gave you the tips. Now let me give you some reality. I'm gonna give you the reality. How is this thing already an hour long? I'm gonna give you the reality about this shit. If you do decide to engage in celibacy or to abstain from sex, whichever one you want to call it, here's a reality, at least for me. 1, you'll be horny as fuck over the littlest things, like literally going to the gym. Sometimes used to arouse the fuck out of me, particularly watching guys working out. Oof, damn. Whew. Watching a sex scene on TV. Oof. Listening to songs that you used to have sex to. Oof. Do not play Skin by Rihanna. Do not, like, literally puts me in the mood. Like, damn, what are you thinking about it already? Meeting in My Bedroom by Silk. Can't listen to that without, getting a little moist. And so it's the little things sometimes that will do it. Like you watching somebody, like, ooh, like getting a massage. Like when I got the Thai massage, I was like, okay, she needs to stop. She needs to stop pressure pointing me like on my butt. She needs to stop massaging my butt before I have to turn around and marry her. Because like all my massages have gotten me like pretty hot and bothered. But it's a part of it. I mean, we're all sexual beings. We're humans. That is what we are. That's why we have sex organs. 2, masturbation becomes so much better when you abstain from sex. One of the articles, I can't remember which one, said that you actually capture your sexual essence during masturbation, I think that was the one about the spirituality of masturbation, that you capture your sexual essence. Literally, you will figure out what you like, what you don't like, where the spots are, how long it will take you to climax, and what it feels like. What does that feel like from abstaining and not having somebody just, doing their business on you? Shout out to Color Purple. Shout out to Celia on Color Purple. Mr. Climb on top of me and do his business. It should never feel like a man is using the toilet on you. And if it does, you need to go ahead and pull out your finger, your hand. Oops, oh my. There goes my shirt over my head. Oh my. Until you figure out what works well for you. I mean, I remember a friend had mentioned, and this is how, like, this conversation, I'm telling you, I have this conversation with my friends all the time, very open conversations about sex. And one of my friends had mentioned that his wife doesn't really climax when they have intercourse. And I was like, that's really unfortunate. And he was thinking about getting her toys. And I was like, oh, I can tell you where to get some toys. I mean, obviously he asked me because all my friends are like, oh, Toya's a sex expert. She likes sex. And I was like, I'm not an expert. Trust me. I just like it. And I like how I do it. And I've learned many things from certain people that have taught me a lot about myself, my body, and sex, and what I like and I don't like. But he had mentioned, like, oh, I was thinking about getting her a vibrator or something, where I can go. I was like, adamandeve.com. And he, it became a conversation that obviously she's not climaxing while y'all have intercourse because she doesn't quite know how to get there and how to direct you how to get there. And the best thing she could do is, explore with a toy, or explore while she's, while you're having intercourse with a toy, to figure out what works for her. But I thought that was an interesting conversation that, pretty much masturbation is the key. And especially if you're abstaining, it is your friend. And it's so much better. Trust me. I look forward to my masturbation sessions all the time. I pop an edible, which now I know. That's why I know that it is so much better with an edible. Just sex in general. I was like, ooh, I can't wait till I actually have real intercourse. So I'm popping an edible, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be splash waterfalls up in here. Sexual eruption. Shout out to Ludacris and Snoop Doggy Dogg. Number 3, you look at sex differently. Like I said, I look at it as like, it is definitely an intimate situation. Before, I just saw it as like an itching a scratch, and it was fun, and it was a good, physical activity. And, but now I look at it as like, it's something that I want to do with somebody that I actually care about. Now, if that means, a random, like a booty call with someone that I have sex with before, cool, because I actually care about that person. We're still talking. We're friends. But I don't need to just be giving it out to anybody. Like, it's just not, there's so many other things, like I said, you could be doing with your time, instead of just having random casual sex with people, or just really bad sex with people that you're dating. And I also see it as, it is a deal breaker. If you are dating someone you think they're absolutely amazing and the sex is horrible, and you have addressed this and tried to address it, and the person is actually working towards trying to be better, and they're not any better, dump them. It's time to break up with them. Trust me, you're gonna be miserable, and you're gonna end up cheating on them. It's gonna make it worse. So that's how I see things more clearly now when I hear stories, particularly on the read, when they have like those listener letters, and people are like, well, my man is amazing, he plays this, he plays that, he's so supportive, he does this, all these things for me, I love him so much, but the sex is whack. I'm like, break up with them. If you have already directed them and they can't improve, or they get upset when you start talking about it, break up with them. Break up with them and send them to therapy. Number 4, it helps you reflect on your past partnerships. I can definitely say that it has helped me, see things a lot more clearly about people that I was engaged with before. And again, it's also given me the gift of discernment, and has made the process of like screening through people a lot faster. I wish it would also push me towards like rebounding faster after I've like been like, okay, this person's a loser, I need to move on quickly. I haven't really picked that up yet, but again, I think it's because I have the Purple Thunder team at home, and there's so many other things that I have on my list of things to do that I think it's just not a priority. Damn, it's just not a priority. I don't think it's ever been. That's how I have 3 degrees. It's just never been a priority. When it's not available, when it's not good, I just don't engage in it. That's it. Although it has led me to do some really reckless, stupid things. But it's been really reckless, stupid things with people that I had really strong feelings for. and that I was involved with for a very long time. Like, and so I could say I can blame that more on like my heart than my vagina. So, something else that I wanted to point out. So I just wanted to end this discussion by looking at one of the quotes that I found from the articles. And so the article about the celibacy and the spirituality of masturbation said that 42% of people who say that they're abstaining from sex give religious reasons for them. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. So what about the other, what is that? Okay, do math, Latoya. 58%. What about the other 58%? Why are they doing it? And I wish I could find that information, but I thought it was very telling, especially since this person was talking about them engaging in celibacy as a form for religious reasons, and was describing celibacy as abstaining from sex for religious reasons. And a quote stuck out to me that I want to discuss before I end this conversation. So the quote in this article said, when you are practicing celibacy, it is a personal journey and you're abstaining from sex for a purpose. The reason why the average person is so frustrated when they're practicing abstinence is because it is forced upon them. They're not having sex because they are not in a relationship, or they haven't found someone they're interested in, or whatever other reason that they just decided not to have sex. They're frustrated because they are not practicing purposefully. And I disagree with that. I disagree with it wholly. I don't think, I think because this person is viewing it as in terms of purpose, like religious purpose, that they're not seeing that the fact that someone is not engaging in promiscuity after, having abstinence, quote unquote, forced on them because they are not in a relationship or they haven't found someone or whatever. I think that is just, that is someone not looking at it completely clearly. Like, not engaging in promiscuity is a choice. It is being purposeful. It is a way of being celibate. It is, if you don't see it that way, then you have the wrong idea about what it means to abstain from something. Because again, like I said, like I talked about this over the weekend with a friend, and I was like, yeah, I've been a celibate almost 2 years and I want to talk about it. And she's like, you're not really celibate. And I was like, yes, I am. And she's like, well, that's because you're not in a relationship with somebody. And I was like, no, I can get it anytime I want to. I'm telling you right now, if I decided that I wanted to have sex right now, I could find somebody. It could be a stranger on the street. It could happen right now. Single, married, like fat, short, white, black, whatever. But I choose not to, because I'm using discernment. I'm being indiscriminate. I am not being promiscuous. And I think that is purposeful. That is very much purposeful. Like I said, and I had to explain that to her, like, yes, people can have different reasons for being celibate, and we should respect those reasons. And it doesn't always have to be tied to religious reasons or a marriage vow or whatever. You made a promise to your dad and had a celibacy ring, like all that bullshit. I'm calling it bullshit because usually the kids who make those promises still engage in some kind of sexual activity and then say like, well, I didn't have vaginal intercourse. And it's like, but you took it up the ass. That's still sex, honey. You gave somebody a blowjob. That is still sex, honey. I mean, look at those fucking Duggar kids. They engaged, they had the whole celibacy ring and celibacy promise and all that stuff. And, one of them turned out to be a fucking pedophile who molested his own sisters. And another one, people said had sex in the church as soon as they said I do, because they were so like they were forced to abstain, and it wasn't a choice for them. They didn't choose to abstain from this. And so I just wanted to point that out there when you're thinking about it. If you decide to do it like Cam Newton, to do it intermittently, as a form of, like, I know boxers do it so that they can perform better before boxing matches. If you do it for physical reasons, sports reasons, athletic reasons, religious reasons, personal reasons, you want to abstain before you're engaged, and you want to abstain until your wedding date, like whatever reason you have, or you just haven't found somebody, or you just don't want to have no dirty dick dude in your life, and then you find out that he had a baby on you. If it's any of those things, if you're just tired of being sick and tired, those are all valid reasons. And I support you in it. And so that is how I want to end this conversation about celibacy, and it will lead me into this this last section about, let me figure this out. So I already kind of mentioned this, but figure me this, try to figure this out for me. Why is it that Christian folks, right, want to condemn? They're so easy to condemn homosexuality and like premarital sex. Like they will be like, you are going to hell. Ooh, you are a whore. You're Jezebel. You are a demon spawn for being attracted to somebody of the same sex. But they will not use that same energy when the men, not the women, when the men in these relationships end up cheating. Even their pastors, they're like, oh, forgive them. We went to God and decided to forgive his infidelity. There's that saying, you go to your grandfather's funeral and then you meet the other side of his other family. Like, we all know that. I mean, my grandfather had 11 kids and my grandmother had 10. What does that tell you? I'm just going to say that. And it's not uncommon, but yet we are supposed to just be accepting of like the cheating, and even forms of like molestation. People are like, oh, forgive your uncle that touched you. Forgive your father that touched you. Forgive your cousin, your brother, or whatever. You have to forgive. Jesus is about forgiveness, and it's about forgiving people's sins. But, oh, you say that you're gay, you're going to hell, right? So they're so easy to say that, oh, you had sex before married. Oh my gosh, you are such a dirty whore. And it is just mind boggling to me. And if someone could explain that to me, I would really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. And with that, I am done. I was hoping that this would be a lot shorter than it is. I felt like I rambled. Maybe I didn't. Did you find this entertaining? Or, I just felt like I wanted to share. This is kind of like a share session, storytelling session. I don't think it really had any like real value, but maybe it has value for those of my girls out here who may not be engaging in sex right now. Maybe are going through a drought. Don't feel bad about it. Don't focus on it. Like, you shouldn't have to. And if you decide that you want to engage in celibacy for whatever reasons, like, always know that your girl Toya T is here for you without judgment. Without judgment. I was gonna say as long as you're not fucking Future. And then I'm gonna judge the hell out of you, yo. These women that continue to have sex with Future without condoms and then get pregnant, and then when he decides to deny their babies and they want to get upset, like, I have no sympathy for you. I'm sorry, I'm judging the fuck out of you. Judging the fuck out of you. Okay. Him and Fetty Wap. Damn, if you're having unprotected sex with dirty ass dudes that have more than 3 baby mamas, and 7 kids, I don't have any sympathy for you. I'm not judging you. I just don't have no sympathy for you. But anything else, I'm here for you. With that, I'm done. I hope you guys enjoyed this rambling about celibacy and abstinence and chastity and promiscuity. And again, as I said, if you enjoy these kind of conversations, please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it. Share with your friends. Share with all your friends that are having sex, not having sex, that are super religious, not religious. Just share with everybody. Share to everybody that you feel might get a little bit of a shit and a giggle from my little conversation about celibacy. Also, please help me get to my first 50 reviews. I have not even cracked 10 yet. Come on, folks. Help me out. Help your girl out. Please, just go on iTunes. I'm trying to get discovered. I'm trying to be noteworthy and new. I want to be featured, spotlighted by Apple and other podcasting platforms, but particularly Apple, because they are, they're like Disney. They run everything, I feel. And so please help me out and go ahead and rate and review my podcast on iTunes. It's really simple. If you just go to iTunes, you will see, just look up Figure Out Your Life with Toya T, and then you will see a part that says review. You'll see like the stars. Just click on that. Go ahead, put in your stars. Give me a little rating. If you have anything that you want to say to me, the way to get in contact with me is in the show notes. So you can get in contact with me on Instagram. You can get in contact with me on Facebook. Email me, but all that information is very much in the show notes. And with that, I hope you guys have a blessed, beautiful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time you're listening to this, wherever you are. I just hope you guys stay blessed, and I will talk to you guys next week. All right, bye.